Hi, good afternoon. A warm welcome to webinar on BTech CSE specialization with Healthcare Informatics. As you all know, information technology becomes an integral part of every business domain nowadays. Among various business domains, healthcare infrastructure domain becomes an emerging field of opportunities. The demand for trained professionals who can design, implement, improve, and utilize in the clinical infrastructure continues to grow. With the emphasis on healthcare domain, College of Engineering Studies at University of Petroleum Energy Studies, Dehradun offers an innovative, industry collaborative BTech computer science program in specialization with healthcare informatics. By the way, myself, Dr. Venkatatri, program head for BTech Computer Science Engineering, specialization with healthcare informatics from Center for Information Technology, College of Engineering Studies, University of Petroleum Energy Studies, Dehradun. As we are seeing on the uh, screen, this healthcare information technology or healthcare informatics is a combination of three different emerging technologies, which includes cloud based computing and internet of things and networking technologies. Nowadays, if you see any of the healthcare informatics relevant domain which involves networking components and cloud computing techniques and internet of things where the device can communicate with other devices. Agenda of today's webinar is about an introduction to the program, healthcare industry future snapshot, and the course structure of the BTech CSE specialization with healthcare informatics and relevant areas of study by the student which relevant to the healthcare domain and healthcare IT professional services. By the end of the course, the student is able to serve in various domains relevant to the healthcare informatics. And by the time the course getting matured, the skill set acquired by the student and career perspectives and job opportunities towards BTech Computer Science Engineering and Healthcare Informatics can be discussed in these opportunities. And targeted companies follows by question and answers. As we are seeing on the screen about BTech Computer Science Engineering specialization in Healthcare Informatics is about the core and advanced concepts of computer science engineering, which includes the basics of various programming languages, basics of design and analysis of algorithms to advanced concepts of computing technologies. We are actually applying these computational techniques or technology towards the domain knowledge of health informatics. Here, if you see the healthcare informatics is an application of technology tools which is again internally relevant to the health information management, which includes how the data can be represented and relevant to the health informatics domain, how policy can be designed and guidelines administration compliances can be implemented for health information management. And the tools includes various computing devices, various software programming languages, networkings and data storage, and how the security can be provided to the data available in healthcare domain. The future of healthcare informatics. Present, we are having 71% of total healthcare spending in country happens in private sector, which dominates the secondary and tertiary healthcare segments. Approximately 75% of total hospitals and 40% of hospital beds in secondary and tertiary segments in the country as in the private sector. Private sector hospitals includes hospital chains by corporate houses, standalone private nursing homes. Private hospitals are run by charitable trusts or operated through JVs with multinational hospital chains. As this snapshot indicates that Indian hospital sector is expected to increase by a CAGR of 20% during the period of financial year 2013 to 20 to cross 280 billion US dollars. This is about the overall global scenario of healthcare sector in terms of India, China, Brazil, how the healthcare sector going to occupy the entire business industry, and healthcare expenditure and future trends relevant to Indian market. We are explaining in terms of healthcare become one of India's largest sectors, both in terms of revenue and employment. The industry is growing at a tremendous pace, owing to its strengthening coverage, services, and increasing expenditure by public as well as private players. If you gone through the slide here, from 2008 onwards to 2020, the rate of increase in terms of revenue generated by various public private sectors in India we can represent here. And in India, private healthcare accounts for almost 72% of the country's total healthcare expenditure, as I already discussed the same thing in the previous slide also. And if you see the global scenario or tendency, the market for healthcare domain is continuously growing for better opportunities. And now we are going to see about the course structure of this BTech Computer Science Engineering specialization with Healthcare Informatics. Healthcare Informatics is the interdisciplinary study of design, development, adoption and application of IT-based innovations in healthcare services in terms of delivery, management and planning. Now, if you gone through the slide here, we are going to explain the basics of computer science engineering concepts to advanced computational techniques in this course, which is core area to apply for the domain. And the second circle indicates healthcare domain, which is going to give the idea about patient disease prevention and how the treatment management of an illness and the promotion of health and well-being through the services offered by the medical, nursing and allied health professions. So here what we are going to do with this course is the merging of computational techniques to healthcare domain. And the third area relevant to this course is how the healthcare data is going to be stored into the systems and how we are going to classify the data and how we are going to retrieve, and that classification of the data is meant for information retrieval and the application and use of knowledge, the interaction between the people, organizations and information systems. That means The overall structure of this course includes the basic to advanced concepts of computer science engineering and the complete domain knowledge about healthcare infrastructure, and follows by the information science, which is relevant to how we are going to store the data into the healthcare databases and how the data is important to analyze for further identification of the diseases, and how this data going to communicate with various devices, and this is actually the overview of this entire course. Now here, how we are going to apply the computer science and engineering concepts to healthcare informatics. If you see this complete diagram, which includes the basics of computer science and engineering subjects and cloud infrastructure and networking, follows by Internet of Things. Here, the first indicates the patients and citizens, which nowadays, if you see the awareness among the public, every person is having some handheld devices which monitors the blood pressure of the person and which monitors the glucose levels of the person. So nowadays it becomes a way of prevention mechanism for the various problems that are going to happen in future. And now here this healthcare informatics is going to apply in various research platforms which identifies the disease spreading analysis and disease prevention mechanism and post disease implications. And again, healthcare informatics is relevant to various healthcare centers, that may be healthcare centers which are relevant to hospitals or nursing homes. So again, here also this domain plays a vital role to prevent the various problems relevant to the patient care. And third one is about various infrastructure facilities that we have to keep for your healthcare domain in terms of computer science engineering, like how we are going to store the data about the patient and how the data is going to be retrieved when and where it is required, and health and social care platforms, monitoring platforms, all these are all going to holds the data about the patients as well as various international organizations. And about the devices in the sense like wearable devices which are going to communicate with each other, like if you have a health monitoring system which is held on your hand, how that device is incorporate the data about the patient and how this data is going to communicate with other devices. So these are all relevant to your Internet of Things. That means device to device communication or mission to mission communication can happen through these devices. Being a computer science engineering student in the specialization of healthcare informatics, by the completion of this course, the student is able to design some kind of devices here and able to monitor how the data is going to be transferred from one device to another device, and he is able to design various applications towards the patient health. And if you see the overall structure of this course, this includes a advanced technology of cloud computing infrastructure that allows various healthcare centers, connection of various healthcare centers, medical practices, insurance companies, and research facilities to tap improved computing resources at lower initial capital outlays. Additionally, cloud environments will lower the barriers for innovation and modernization of health infrastructure systems. Here, IoT technologies offer ability to track activities, identify choices, evaluate outcomes, and act in circumstances that were previously effectively beyond reach and influence. So, overall structure indicating that computer science engineering is the backbone of this course, and this backbone is going to support the application domain in terms of healthcare segment. Here, areas of health informatics. As for this diagram itself, it shows various areas involved in this healthcare informatics, which is which we can say as a MATA, where M stands for monitor, A stands for analyze, T stands for trigger, and A stands for action, MATA, which indicates any device which is held by a patient or the device held by an organization, a device held by a doctor is going to monitor the patient's data, and it is going to analyze the current scenario of the patient, and if it is requires, it triggers the message to the patient, and finally if any emergency case is happening, that has to be addressed by the concerned authorities. So this technology known as MATA involves all the care of a particular patient in terms of clinical infrastructure. So here if you see patient manager, and the communication takes place between the doctor and patient, and diagnostic center, and even sometimes therapy and after care operations are all involved in this course of BTech Computer Science and Engineering, follows by the domain specific area of healthcare informatics. And the technologies applied for this course, which includes open source technologies in terms of LAMP, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and follows by PHP. So student is going to apply all these LAMP technologies for healthcare informatics, and mobility, which indicates any device can be moved from one location to another location which is held by a patient, and this device is going to communicate with different networking technologies, and the data which is relevant to the patient are also available in various locations. So all this information is under the mobility technology. As I told you about cloud computing, when the data is held by the devices, the data needs to communicate to all the various devices, and the device is going to communicate with the cloud environment, and from cloud environment the device needs to get some data relevant to the patient. So this kind of technology involves various networking components. So this course includes the basic idea of open source technologies and the idea of mobility, idea of cloud computing, idea of networking technologies. And nowadays, we are hearing about the concept of Internet of Things, which is having interoperability application, which is going to communicate with one mission by another mission, is known as embedded systems and Internet of Things. Again, here the student is going to learn about the concepts of storage technology and standards. And at the end, the student is in a position to analyze what exactly the database of healthcare is having and how the data is going to analyzed and how the predictions can be done based on the previous histories of the patients. So this includes various technologies like data analytics is one area where the student is going to address into the address in this course, and how the storage technology involved in BTech Computer Science Engineering and Healthcare Informatics, and it also addresses the latest techniques about the Internet of Things and networking technologies. If you see this diagram itself, it shows that we are going to do the operations on data which is available in the healthcare databases, and the data particularly about the people and how the computing resources are going to analyze this data of the public or patients. That is about the overall structure of the technology which is going to learn by the students by the end of this course. Now coming to the healthcare IT professional services. Being an graduate student of BTech's Computer Science Engineering with the specialization of Healthcare Informatics, you are going to learn about various open source softwares for electronics records. So how we are going to store the electronic monitoring records or electronic medical records, how we are going to store these electronic medical records into the databases of healthcare, and how these databases are going to be stored and how the data is going to be retrieved from the databases with the open source tools. That means here, being a student, direct assistance from the board members and technical contributors of open EMR records, integration and implementation, customization of records, enhancement, development and support is going to have in this open source tools management. And the second one is relevant to the standards which are relevant to domain, that is healthcare. Here we have to integrate various electronic medical records and through various labs, through various imaging centers, and follows by e-prescription. So the applications relevant to these is going to have the basic idea through these standards which is going to be explained in terms of HL7 standards for international standards for storage, retrieval and interoperability of the data stored in the databases of healthcare systems. And the third area relevant to this healthcare IT professional services about software development and quality assessment or testing, and test automation, maintenance and upgrades, and support of the healthcare databases. And fourth one is about healthcare IT consulting. Meaningful use stage 2, ICD 10 consulting, technology selection, healthcare interoperability. All these things are explained in terms of healthcare IT consulting examples. So this overall structure indicates being a BTech student in computer science engineering, specialization with healthcare informatics, various services can be done with this course, which includes open source, learning of open source tools, learning of various standards, learning of software engineering components for various applications implementation, and learning of healthcare IT consulting concepts. By the maturity of this course, the student is able to have the knowledge about computational techniques, programming languages, cloud computing techniques, computer networking techniques, storage and retrieval techniques, mobile computing techniques, Internet of Things, and embedded technologies. That means all the right hand side points relevant to the area of BTech Computer Science Engineering course, and the left hand side skills acquired by the student is related to the domain knowledge. After completion of this course, the student is able to understand IT adaptation for healthcare, how IT is going to be enable the services of healthcare sector, and how IT is going to help to extract the knowledge from healthcare domain, and how the healthcare models can be delivered to the public in a proper way, and that student is able to understand telehealth principles, follows by maintenance of health IT systems. That means how the student is going to manage the database of various patients, and suppose if the patient data is available through various handheld devices. So how this handheld device is going to have the data of the particular patient, and whenever it requires any kind of monitoring, or it requires any kind of assess any kind of analysis, or it requires any kind of action from the healthcare support systems. So this is about maintenance of health IT systems. Healthcare informatics usability engineering, that means how various devices are going to support the patient care infrastructure. Healthcare mobility, as I discussed about healthcare mobility, nowadays handheld devices or wearable devices is having the data of the patient, and how this data is going to enhance the uh, health, how this data enhance the health prevention mechanisms. So in this case, IoT plays a vital role for healthcare informatics. That means IoT stands for, as I told you, IoT stands for Internet of Things. And again, the healthcare standards and quality is going to be addressed in terms of HL7 standards. That means by the end of this course, the student is able to understand various computational techniques which enhance the features of healthcare industry. Now here everything is talking about data, or else we are talking about information. So whether it is patient data, or whether it is healthcare centers data, or it is research data or it is any other electronics, electronic medical records. Here, everything is talking about data and its analysis. As I told you, the technology of MATA, which stands for monitoring, analysis, triggering, and action. That means whatever the data is available in terms of electronic medical records or the data relevant to environment, the data relevant to mobile health data or family history, drug data, public health data, genomic data, imaging and lab results, insurance, insurance claims data. All these data requires some analysis. So, being a graduate student of this course, the student is in a position to analyze various data available for this healthcare informatics by the end of this course. And sometimes this data needs some research to prevent the further problems of this like suppose for example if cancer analysis, so suppose if anybody did some research on this cancer analysis, there may be a chance of finding out the mechanism how we are going to prevent this cancer. And sometimes this data analysis will help us to find out the solutions for the major problems, like by seeing the history of the patient we can analyze the future predictions of the patient data. So this is about how the student is going to analyze various medical records and various patient records, and based on that we will have some kind of preventive mechanisms, or like in terms of proactive and reactive mechanisms. This data will help us to do either proactive or reactive mechanisms of the patients. Now, career perspectives about this course. The BTech program in Computer Science and Engineering with specialization in Healthcare Informatics prepares students for an exciting career in the healthcare domain as well as in Computer Science Engineering domain. One can choose the career as a global system integrator through TCS, Wipro, Essences, IBM, Infosys, various multinational companies which offers the job perspectives relevant to software engineer, relevant to data architect, relevant to various data analytics posts. So this course helps the student to gain the basic knowledge about the computer science engineering course and follows by the domain specific knowledge of healthcare informatics. As I told, like various opportunities in this course are available, like being a graduate of this course, you can choose your career as a software engineer or as a mobile application developer, data storage architect, cloud application developer, embedded programmer, health application developer. These jobs based on the course you studied relevant to the basic BTech computer science engineering. And in the left hand side of this slide indicates the job perspectives of the domain which you studied in this entire course, like health informatics consultant, health informatics specialist, senior health informatics analyst, chief medical information officer, Director of Clinical Information Systems, Researcher, Data Analyst, and Software Quality Analyst, and Program Analyst. Like these are all various opportunities you will get by the complete after completion of this course. This course enables to find your career path in terms of in a computer science engineering firms, or else you will get the job opportunities in terms of your domain knowledge. At present, our recruiters, as you can see on the slide itself, TCS, IBM, HCL, Genstar, Dell, these are all various companies which already visited in our last academic year, and almost 100% of the placement happened for all the previous batch students. And by the end of this course, that is BTech Computer Science Engineering, specialization in healthcare informatics, we are targeting about the companies for various healthcare domains. Like these are all the various companies we are planning to have the interaction with you all for your career perspectives. Thank you. Please have a question and answer sessions now. I request any student have any kind of doubts, please let me know so that I will clarify your doubts. Huh? Any questions, please, from student side? Thank you.